This is Sanlucar De Barrameda on the Atlantic coast at the mouth of the Guadalquivir River that connects this place with the Andalusian capital, Seville. This strategic location made it the starting point for the exploration, colonization, and evangelization of the Americas between the 15th and the 17th century. I'm amazed Sanlucar isn't more famous. Magellan left on the first global circumnavigation from here, and Christopher Columbus embarked on his third journey from the town. It can claim to host the oldest and arguably the most spectacular horse race in Spain on its wonderful beaches, and it's world-renowned for its seafood. In 2022, it was Spain's gastronomic capital. But of all these wonderful things, it's a certain wine that's produced here that brings us today to Sanlucar De Barrameda. So we're here in Sanlucar, the only place in the world where you can make manzanilla, and we're going to visit with Barbadillo, the largest producer of manzanilla, one of the largest producers in the entire Marco de Jerez, also one of the largest private businesses in Spain. So to find them, we need to go up there to the Barrio Alto. So what are we waiting for? Venga. These are wines that once dominated the world and made Jerez and the surrounding towns of the Sherry Triangle some of the richest places on earth. Well, I've made it up to the top of Sanlucar, the Barrio Alto. This is really the land of Barbadillo, and over there is the visitor center and the Museum of Manzanilla, as Barbadillo referred to it. So, let's go. So I'm here in the Museum of Manzanilla, created by Barbadillo, and I'm very lucky to be joined by Erin, who is going to tell us a little bit about the story of this bodega, but perhaps maybe tell us, first of all, what exactly is Manzanilla?
Manzanilla, it is here in Sanlucar. It is the only place that you can get this special and delicious wine. We are on the south of Spain. We are worldwide famous as the way that we give aging to our wines. And here we have a really special condition. We can see here on the map our location. The Sherry area, we are just in the south of Spain, in Cádiz, and it is 7,000 hectares around all the three towns of Jerez, El Puerto, and Sanlucar. And here we have a really special condition. We have in front of us the National Park of Doñana. We are in the mouth of Guadalquivir River, and we work with a current of cold winds that comes straight from the ocean. And all these conditions that here in Sanlucar, the floor live different way as the red of the sherries. And we are located just in the upper part of the town and comes with highest strength. So here in our wall, what means that the yeast develop different way. The floor here comes from Saccharomyces family. This is the name of the yeast to produce finos and manzanillas. But here we have those conditions. The floor, it is thicker. That could be in Jerez. We could have a differences of temperature between Jerez and Sanlucar. Summertime, it is quite hard depending which area of those 7,000 hectares.
Right.
And that currents of cold winds that comes straight to the center with the humidity plus the currents of cold winds, obviously the yeast here.
And that's the poniente wind.
Yes, it is poniente winds that comes straight from ocean.
Yeah.
In Jerez, well, we have it as more hot winds, called Levante,
Yeah.
and that makes the differences even inside of the solar. The ground, it is like a sponge, retain the water and the humidity it is that important in this area. And the quality of the ground, how different could it is, and how change of the weight of the beans, trying to look for those waters there.
So Erin, here we are, no prizes from my part for guessing this is the Bodega del Toro.
Yeah.
And my understanding is this is where it all started.
This is the beginning of Barbadillo. He came after the war in Mexico, and all the ships that came from America at that time, they got to pass from the riverside. He came, he found the gold time of this area. It is where everything began here. It is, as you see, we have in the middle a well, and it is a typical, the first bodega. It is called Cuadro, architectonical. It has a patio in the middle with the well and 4 bodegas around the patio. So
Okay.
all the currents could breathe better here.
Okay.
It is a heritage of the town. We are in the upper part of the town in this area. And if you go a walk on this area to the upper part, everything that you see right there, those are solar from Barbadillo, and they are heritage of the town here. Really important at that time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean this whole area has basically been taken over by Barbadillo, right?
Mm-hmm.
One building after another as the company
Yeah,
expanded.
and it has a really special condition. It is the tall, as you see the trees on the side to protect the solar of the hard sun where it is here. The breeze could go perfectly well to one side to another one, and all these conditions that the floor here grows quite well. Here, and it is where we have our Manzanilla Nave Trinidad. It is the youngest, and it is with a quite young Manzanilla. It is 3 years old, 4 years old. This is from the 17th century here. So we could see those behind my back. We could see those archers. That is not typical here. And as we see the three rows of manzanillas, the double roof, all the arches, all the windows, it's going to be open here to catch up the currents of cold winds that come straight from the ocean. And as we have here, it is 2 currents of winds. The coolest wind always is going to be in the bottom. The hot winds always going to go to the roof, and with those winds going to one side to the solar with that patio, make everything even cooler. So the floor lives perfectly well in this area.
So everything is around making sure the floor gets to the appropriate level of thickness and stays as long as possible.
The Barbadillo, it is a family business. It is 7th generation of Barbadillo and the company, 200 years solar producing wine, and they are aware in those 200 years how the years double as the way that they are doing here. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It is amazing the character and how different it could be to one side to another one, and how important it is the location of this building.
So Tim, the company celebrated its 200th anniversary, I think, last year. Can you tell me a little bit about how the company's evolved over those years?
It was founded in 1821. It started off really, I think, very modestly with one bodega, one building, supplying other producers more than anything else. They were the very first to actually ship Manzanilla abroad. So the very first official documentation of Manzanilla in any bodega is from Barbadillo in 1827, and it was a shipment of Pastora Manzanilla to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah.
Right, so that's sort of its origins, and over the years it's gradually become bigger. The Barbadillo family has bought one bodega, then another in the vicinity. But its real growth was in the mid-20th century under the guidance of Manuel Barbadillo, who was half the time in charge of the bodega, the other half writing poetry and books, including a book about Manzanilla and a book about sherry, which at the time was the real benchmark publication about sherry in the 50s.
Oh, we're in the sort of ante-room of his office here.
And we are, yes,
Yeah.
this is the ante-room here. And Barbadillo is one of the suppliers of Harvey's in Bristol. Now Harvey's is still a very important brand name in the sherry world, with Harvey's Bristol Cream. Back in those days, they were massive. They had maybe 10 different sherries, and they were available everywhere in the UK. And we're talking about millions of cases, and no single bodega was large enough to supply their needs.
Right.
And so Barbadillo is one of many, 3 or 4 at the time, who shipped in casks, in butts, the sherry to Bristol, where it would be blended.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was an important part of their business. But when that fell through in the early 70s,
Rumasa
yes, that's right. That's right. Jose Maria Ruiz Mateos got that business exclusively with Harvey's. So it left Barbadillo in a potential quandary, because they had all these grapes, all these vineyards, without that contract. But this was actually an opportunity for them to then make the very first table wine from the sherry region. So the very first Palomino table wine was made by Barbadillo. And it was very quickly a big success, and is still actually the best-selling white wine in Spain. So that's how successful it is, and it still is. So that's an incredibly important part of that, the growth and development of Barbadillo. And since then, Barbadillo's philosophy has been one of innovation, not keeping still, not just relying on traditional sherry sales, or indeed the traditional white wine sales, but developing the red wine business. And then Barbadillo purchased a bodega in the Ribera del Duero region,
right, yeah,
and another one in the Somontano region. So we're actually 3 wineries, and that gives us that diversification which we're looking for, which hopefully gives us some security and growth looking forward.
So this is a particularly fascinating room. It is the office of Manuel Barbadillo, who ran the company, as Tim was saying, for many years with great distinction. He wrote between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning his poetry and his novels, and then he would move to another location in the premises to conduct the work of the firm. When he died at the age of 96, he was mourned quite heavily across the whole region, and it was very popular with everyone in the organisation. So an incredibly famous man, and his office has been kept here in perpetuity in recognition of his service to the firm. So here we are in one of the most beautiful bodegas in the whole of the Marco de Jerez, and I'm delighted to be here with Montse Molina, one of the most famous enologists in the whole area, and the person who's in charge of all of this. Can you tell me a little bit about the philosophy of winemaking here at Barbadillo?
Well, we are in a winery that is 200 years old, so we have a long tradition, and we want to keep this tradition, and we are doing all these wines in the Dio, Jerez and Manzanilla that are very expressive and very good in the tradition of Jerez and to the history of the bodega. No? But also at the same time, Barbadillo is a company that makes a lot of different things, and they have started with a young wine made by Palomino 50 years ago, and we have a strong work in wines with different varieties, different ways of winemaking, Bueno, Solear es la estrella de la casa, porque es lo que nos representa. Si algo representa bien Barbadillo, es la crianza biológica. Nosotros somos la bodega de Sanlúcar que hace crianza biológica con más extensión, ¿no? Y tenemos muchos edificios. Estamos en una zona dentro de Sanlúcar privilegiada, que es en la primera fila del barrio alto, de manera que estamos mirando al mar, recibimos muy bien los vientos de poniente. Nuestras criaderas, la levadura en nuestra casa está muy cómoda, ¿no? Entonces, criar una manzanilla durante 6 años hace que el vino, cuando acaba ese proceso, tiene una expresión que resume muy bien lo que es Barbadillo, porque depende de dónde está la levadura en cada una de las bodegas, ¿no? Entonces, Solear es lo que nos identifica, es lo que nos representa, ¿no?
In this enormous bodega here, I understand that sometimes you sample from one end of the bodega and the other end, so, and you have it like the Poniente end and the Levante end. How does that actually work?
Bueno, esto es algo muy curioso, que lo sabemos los que trabajamos en bodega, pero que nunca se había como trasladado al público, ¿no? Ahora tenemos un consumidor mucho más informado y mucho más interesado, que está atento a todas estas diferencias, ¿no? Al final, lo que explicamos con esto es que la manzanilla es un vino que lo hace la levadura. No es un vino industrial, es un proceso muy natural, muy tradicional, y que se nota en estas cosas. O sea, es tan cierto que un mismo vino, que se le hace sacas y rocíos 4 veces al año, o sea que el vino es dinámico, el vino pasa a través de las botas, pero cuando pruebas las botas que se distancian 150 metros, el vino sabe distinto. Eso es porque hacemos el sistema de criaderas y soleras, o sea, siempre queda vino de la vez anterior en la bota, y como es el medio ambiente que interfiere sobre la levadura, el estilo en una parte de la bodega no es el mismo que en otra parte de la bodega, y cuando lo miras atentamente eso se percibe así.
Well, that's incredible to believe. Tell me a little bit about Manzanilla Pasada.
Bueno, Manzanilla pasada significa como que ya le ha pasado el tiempo de la buena crianza, ¿no? Tenemos que tener en cuenta que la manzanilla la hace la levadura que está en la superficie del vino, con lo cual al principio del proceso el vino tiene muchos nutrientes, es muy fácil para la levadura vivir sobre la superficie del vino, entonces cría muy bien y tiene mucha actividad. Y eso dura un tiempo, depende de los locales, de la humedad, de la temperatura, de la cantidad de sacas y rocíos que hacemos, ¿vale? Pero llega un momento donde ya es más difícil para la levadura vivir porque la cantidad de nutrientes es menor. Entonces empieza a permitir que el oxígeno que está presente, cuando la levadura está muy activa, es prácticamente nulo el oxígeno que transforma el vino. Cuando ya la levadura no tiene tanta actividad, parte del oxígeno está madurando también el vino. Entonces el vino se empieza a poner de un color un poco más dorado, muy bonito, pero más dorado, y también en la boca es un vino más maduro. Entonces es una manzanilla pasada, y es como que ya le ha pasado el tiempo de la buena crianza, pero lo tiene todo acumulado.
Well, that concludes part 1 of our visit with Barbadillo. We've focused very much on the use of the bodegas, the different spaces for maturation, and talked a little bit about the philosophy of winemaking here. Join me in part 2, where we'll look a little bit more into some of the products produced here, how they go to market, where they go to market, and most importantly of all, we'll have a chance to taste some of them. So I'll see you then. It'll be released in 2 to 3 weeks' time. And of course, if you've liked this video, please like and subscribe, and caress that notification button so you'll be kept up to date with any new videos as they come out. Until the next time we speak, salud y nos vemos.